the single most important thing you can do to create a culture that really drives your success in biotech or in any industry for that matter is to hire the right people. The second most important thing you can do is to keep hold of those people. Everything else becomes easier if you bring the right people into your business. So if you're going to start somewhere on your journey to brilliant culture, this might well be the best place. But what do I mean by the right people? Well, those with the skills you need, of course, but more importantly, everyone you bring into your team should both reinforce and enhance your culture. They must align with your values and believe the same things your company does before they join. You can't change someone's personal beliefs, and there's a strong argument that morally, you shouldn't really try to. So if a member of your team holds principles that conflict with the company's, then it's likely that you'll encounter major friction, which at best is distracting and at worst is incredibly expensive and disruptive. So alignment from the beginning is key. Now, this idea of the right people is something that companies just don't give enough thought to most of the time. In the majority of organizations, the focus is entirely on skills and experience. And as a result of that, hiring managers waste a huge amount of time, money, and effort on interviewing, hiring, onboarding, and training people who don't perform, don't fit in, and just don't work out. Those people then leave or are let go and they need to be replaced. And then the cycle repeats. It's hugely inefficient. Taking more time up front, though, usually goes a long way to solving this issue. Before you start hiring, define the problem that you're trying to solve. And the secret here is that it's usually not exactly the same problem that you were solving last time you hired. Things change rapidly in biotech, and your hiring criteria should reflect that. If you're struggling to define the problem, then the person you recruit is unlikely to be able to solve it. So you're starting with a losing proposition. And in fact, it's worth questioning whether you need to hire someone at all. But assuming you've identified a genuine, clearly articulated challenge, then take a step back and consider the skills and capabilities that you need to overcome it. And be frugal here. Too often we see wish lists of skills that are highly unlikely to exist in a single candidate. And of course, this will inevitably hamper your ability to fill the position. A good question to ask is, what does someone need to know or be able to do on day one to be successful in this role? Anything beyond that is a bonus and can be learned. Skills and experience aren't enough, of course, so your next step should be to determine the characteristics that will make a person likely to perform well in this specific position. Now, you might want someone passionate, dynamic, and articulate in a business development role, for example, but do those things really matter in data analysis? While it's nice to have some all-rounders in your team, a better strategy is often to fill your roster with people who skew to the extreme. And those people usually come with significant gaps that mirror their outstanding strengths. If you're the sole interviewer and decision maker, then at this point you're well equipped to begin your search. But if others are involved, there's one more crucial step to take before you head into the market. The most common cause of delays, frustration, and missed opportunities to secure great talent is a lack of alignment in the hiring team. By following the steps we've already discussed, you've created a strong basis for assessing candidates, but an alignment session is essential before you start recruiting so that you can make sure that everybody on your interview panel agrees on the brief and has a shared understanding of what each part of it means. So imagine that a key criteria you've identified is that someone must be a confident communicator. Different members of your hiring team might interpret that in different ways. To one, it might mean that they're proactive and extroverted in conversation. To another, that they're comfortable with public speaking. But to a third, it might mean that they have a thoughtful and considered writing style. Identifying this misalignment early and correcting it is likely to save hours of wasted time further on in the interview process. Then once your search is underway and your interviews are scheduled, the order in which you assess different elements of a candidate's fit is more important than many people realize. Most hiring managers will start with a technical screening interview, and that'll commonly be followed by a further technical panel or a presentation. And often it's only after those things have happened, after a technical fit is determined, that other aspects are considered, if they're considered at all. But this creates a problem. If you've decided that a candidate has great technical skills for a position, especially if that position is niche and difficult to find people for, then it's very tempting to overlook deficiencies in their values fit. But those deficiencies are almost always the things that lead to new hires failing to perform. A better way is that after a review of the CV to make sure an applicant's background is broadly aligned with the role, interview them to determine how well they align with your company's values. If they pass this first hurdle, then absolutely dive deeper into technical skills, but only if they pass that first hurdle. And you might notice I've deliberately used the term values fit rather than culture fit. And I've talked at length about this before, but culture fit is a dangerous concept. We subconsciously assess a candidate's culture fit based on how much they're like the people we already have in the team. And as a result, we severely limit diversity. And there's a raft of research that clearly shows that a lack of diversity results in reduced creativity, less innovation, and lower quality decision making, not to mention the potential discrimination issues that you invite. But that doesn't mean that you can just hire anyone with the right skills in the name of diversity. For teams to function effectively, there has to be common ground, and this is where values fit comes in. People from very different backgrounds and with entirely disparate life and professional experiences can share the same values. So the common ground they share then becomes the principles they hold as important. And this is a much more secure footing for building a winning team. Now, just hiring the right people makes it much more likely that you'll retain them, but it's not the only factor. Once they're on board, you'll need to engage your new hires by connecting their work to a compelling mission and vision, by setting them tasks and objectives that stretch and challenge them. And personal and professional development are also key factors in the retention of high performers, so they have to be treated as high priority topics. Removing friction and obstacles, providing support, guidance, and autonomy in the right amounts, and considering the employee as a whole person are critical too. But hiring the right people in the first place is the real key to the game.